Hi there, I'm Marisa, one of the instructors here at the Floral Design Institute. Some of you have probably seen these masks that I've been making here, and today I'm going to show you how. For the materials, we are going to use some fabric, and then I picked felt. I'll get into this later. It's going to be for a liner, but we'll get into that later. A t-shirt, some scissors, your sewing machine, and an iron. With the materials that I have chosen to work with, I am going to disclaim that everything that I am using is based off my opinion and what I feel is most safe for me. For the fabric, I chose something with a higher thread count or just something that's just thicker. Then for the liner or filter inside, I actually chose felt. The reason why I chose felt was that it just doesn't absorb moisture quickly. And then a t-shirt or maybe a shoestring or a piece of ribbon, just something that you can use for a tie. Now let's prep our materials. I've already pre-cut my fabric, but what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut 2 pieces in a rectangle, and I did about 10 inches across and about 7 inches in height. You don't have to use those actual dimensions. This just for me just fits my face the way that I want it. So it actually kind of covers more. You can go smaller, taller, and also with the height, once we pull the drawstrings down, it kind of cups your face. So I just like this dimension. Then with the liner inside, I did about 7 inches in length and then 4 inches in height. And then for our t-shirt, again, you don't have to use a t-shirt. You can use a shoestring or a ribbon or whatever you have just that you can use to tie. I have my old t-shirt. I'm actually not going to cut this up because this is, yes, it is quite old, but it has the Fibonacci or golden ratio on it, and I just can't cut it. But you're going to want to use this, or again, whatever you have on hand. But when you do cut the t-shirt, you want to cut actually this way instead of going this way. The reason why is that it's actually more stretchy going this way, and you'll just get more out of your t-shirt. So for this one, I honestly didn't measure this. I just kind of guessed just around my head what would actually tie. But you can see the buoyancy in it, and it really stretches. So let's get started. Now that we have all of our pieces cut, we have to determine what is the front and the back, right? So we have 2 rectangle pieces. I picked this one to be the front because the pattern's so pretty and the flowers on the front. Okay, so with the back piece, we're actually going to turn it over face down, and then we're going to place our filter or liner inside directly in the middle. And what this is actually going to do is just going to keep it inside hidden so we don't see this on the outside. And then what helps too, because sometimes, especially this fabric, it has some creases and folds in it. If you take your iron and just iron on, just getting all those folds and creases out on both, it just helps keeping the sewing just easier, and it keeps the fabric from bunching when you're sewing. Then we're going to turn this back over. We're going to start sewing. So you're going to start with this one. And what you're going to do is just sew all the way around here, following the rectangle. So let's sew this together. Okay, so now we have our liner and or filter sewed on this side, not this side. If you did it, it's okay. I did it too, and I just went with it. So then we have our front side. So don't forget too to just snip out all the extra strings, extra pieces of thread. You just want it to make it look nice and pretty, just like our mechanics and floral design. Okay, so now we're going to sew these together. So make sure, now I have to think about this for a second, because let's see. Okay, so we want to actually do it backwards on the outside. So just basically take your patterns facing each other like this. I always actually turn this upside down knowing that the liner is, or the filter is facing me, so I know I'm sewing it correctly. We're gonna go ahead and line it up, and all you're gonna do is sew from here, then to here. Let's get sewing. We have sewn our left side and the right side. Remember to go back in and snip out all your extra pieces of thread just to make it nice and tidy. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to flip this out so we get it right side up, okay? And it doesn't matter what side we work with right now, it's fine because we're gonna add the ties. And then also, you may want to use your iron on this part. I find this is very, very, very helpful. Okay, so with your ties, I have the ties that I made out of the t-shirt. Again, you could use shoestring, ribbon, whatever. What we're going to do is we're gonna just feed these through on the inside. One on the right side. And then one on the left side. Okay. And then you want to pull these ties as close as you can all the way to the seams. This is where it gets really tricky. I'm going to move this to the side because it's kind of hot. I can feel it. All right. Again, this is where it gets tricky. So now what you're going to have to do is you have to fold these inside like this. Can you see that? So we're creating a nice fold inside, and make sure that your ties, you have to adjust and pull your ties on each side. And this is why we're going to use the iron. So you want to line these up, line up your folds really, really nicely, and then just kind of press down so it creases. And then you're going to take your iron and then iron across. And this helps really press it down for when you're sewing. So I'm sure if you are a sewer, sewing fabric that's really bubbly, it's really hard. Ooh, that's quite steamy. And then you're gonna switch it around and do the same thing on the other side. Can you believe it? We're almost done. However, this part, besides the one before it, I find this one is even a little bit harder, but you'll get it. So we have ironed both sides, okay? Now what we're going to do is we just have to sew completely all the way around, all in one stitch. The challenge is I typically start on the left side of the sewing machine, putting my foot down. I always put my foot down, but so we're going to put our foot down in our sewing machine, but you want to make sure the string is not underneath the foot. We do not want to sew the string within the mask. So I leave, I don't know, maybe about an inch or so, just enough space in here so we don't sew the string in. So I go ahead and I put the foot down and I start sewing through. I also, as I sew just a little bit at a time, and then I pull the string and kind of move it and kind of scooch it over to the seam, making sure it's all the way over to the side. So then I sew a little bit, adjust, sew, and kind of pull in and out, making sure it doesn't get caught. Yes, I've done that already. And I'm sure you all know when you have to take out your ripper and you have to start over, you're just like, ah! So then you sew all the way down, and then you're just gonna turn. And then you are going to sew this way, and that's going to stitch these two pieces together, right? So then you're gonna sew down this way, turn, sewing back up this way, making sure this part doesn't get caught again, doing the same thing you did on this side over here. Go ahead and sewing all the way up, kind of adjusting a little bit, turning, sewing again all the way down this way, and then we're done. Wasn't that easy? Not very many steps. Look how cute this looks. Okay, so how do we put this on? So what I do, really just determining what is the top and the bottom, it all really looks the same. I take my strings and I just tie a shoestring, bow or knot, whatever you want to call it, at the bottom really tightly. The reason why I do this is so also you know which is the bottom, and if you're going to throw this into the washing machine, you may actually want to tie the top too. You probably should, but leaving this on keeps the strings from pulling all the way through. So I'm actually going to take off my glasses. Unfortunately, these masks that we're making here aren't fog-free for our glasses, unfortunately, but it's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this over my face. And since these are a drawstring, these actually adjust to your face. That's why I like using strings opposed to elastic around the ears. Also, I have very, very, very tiny ears, and they don't really hold anyway, so. Okay, let me get my ponytail out of the way. So then you just pull, and then tie it on top. I hope you found this easy to follow and helpful. You can see I have different sizes. This one's probably the largest. You can also get quite creative. As all of you've seen, I added the tulip for the Floral Design Institute. This one I made for my friend Shannon. She's actually a nurse, so I do want to say thank you to her for all that she's doing right now. You can also try buttons, different types of fabric, even contrasting threads would look pretty cool. And once you get this pattern down, I'm telling you, it's gonna be quite addicting. I made like 12 in a day last Saturday. It actually starts to get really fun. So stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you for watching.